Trump signs the deal. How the longest U.S. government shutdown ended. A historical breakdown. A political standoff pushed the United States into the longest government shutdown in its history. As tension rose, paychecks stopped, agencies froze, and the nation demanded answers. Today, we break down how a single deal finally brought it all to an end and why this moment still shapes American politics. What triggered the longest government shutdown? The longest shutdown began when a major disagreement formed over border security funding. The White House pushed for a stronger southern barrier, while Congress refused to approve the specific amount requested. This disagreement stopped lawmakers from passing a new federal budget, causing the government to run out of approved funding. Once the deadline passed, many agencies no longer had money to operate normally. The core trigger was a clash over policy priorities, with one side demanding more funding for a physical barrier and the other side calling for different security methods. This conflict created a deadlock that neither side softened quickly. As days turned into weeks, the shutdown grew into a national story, with millions asking when key services would restart. The root cause remained a single dispute that expanded into a full political standoff. Key demands behind Trump's standoff. During the conflict, the main request from the president focused on securing billions for a border wall. He argued that a strong physical structure was necessary to reduce illegal crossings and strengthen national security. The administration pushed this as a key promise that needed to be delivered. On the other side, Congress insisted on alternative security tools, such as advanced technology, more officers, and targeted patrol strategies. Lawmakers also questioned the cost and long-term effectiveness of a large barrier. This disagreement grew because both sides felt pressured to hold firmly. The White House framed the demand as essential for public safety, while congressional leaders viewed it as an unnecessary expense. These opposing demands shaped the entire shutdown, with each side refusing to compromise until the final days of negotiation. How federal workers and services were affected. The shutdown caused serious problems for federal workers, especially those required to work without pay. Employees in aviation, border security, and law enforcement faced growing financial stress as weeks passed. Many reported difficulties paying rent, buying food, or managing medical needs. Meanwhile, services across the country slowed or halted. National parks struggled with staff shortages, creating safety and maintenance issues. Government research centers paused important projects. Routine permits, loans, and inspections faced delays, impacting businesses and local communities. Airport delays increased because many air traffic controllers worked under heavy stress. The shutdown revealed how deeply national operations rely on everyday workers, whose roles often go unnoticed. Their struggles turned the shutdown from a political showdown into a human crisis that pushed the debate into the public spotlight. The political battle between Congress and the White House. The shutdown turned into a major power test between the executive branch and Congress. Both sides wanted to prove that their approach to border security was the right one. The White House held firm on funding for a physical barrier, while congressional leaders emphasized checks and balances, arguing that no single branch should dictate spending decisions. This created weeks of gridlock, with televised meetings, heated statements, and sharp public comments. Each side tried to gain public support, hoping pressure would force the other to bend. The dispute exposed long-standing tension over how national budgets should be negotiated. As the conflict grew, many lawmakers worried about damage to public trust. The stalemate eventually showed that neither side could achieve a full win without cooperation, which pushed them toward a temporary agreement. Public pressure and nationwide reactions. As the shutdown dragged on, public frustration increased sharply. Workers held marches, families shared stories of missed paychecks, and unions called for urgent action. Media coverage highlighted the growing strain on daily life, pushing more citizens to demand a quick resolution. Local leaders raised concerns about safety, travel delays, and slowed economic activity. Businesses near federal buildings reported fewer customers. Airports faced rising stress as employees struggled without pay. Polls showed that many Americans blamed political leaders for failing to act sooner. The longer the shutdown lasted, the more the public pushed for a break in the deadlock. This widespread pressure played a key role in motivating lawmakers to return to the negotiation table. The shutdown became not only a political conflict, but also a national call for responsible decision-making. The negotiations that finally moved forward. Talks began to shift only when pressure grew from multiple sides. Federal worker shortages, flight delays, and rising public frustration pushed lawmakers to reconsider their positions. Behind closed doors, negotiators searched for a plan that would allow both sides to save political standing. Key senators from both parties urged action, stressing the need to restore normal government functions. Small proposals were exchanged, focusing on temporary funding rather than a full solution. Gradually, the idea of reopening the government first and debating border security later gained support. This gave leaders room to move without appearing to surrender. The breakthrough came when enough lawmakers agreed that continuing the shutdown would cause more harm than any policy disagreement. This shift turned stalled talks into real progress, creating the conditions needed for a temporary agreement. What was included in the final deal? The final agreement did not grant the requested money for a physical barrier. Instead, it offered temporary funding to restart government operations for several weeks. This allowed agencies to bring workers back, restore services, and reopen critical offices. The deal also directed lawmakers to form a bipartisan committee focused on reviewing border security needs. Their task was to study various options, such as advanced technology, targeted fencing, and increased staffing. The goal was to find a solution that balanced security concerns with practical spending. While the deal did not settle the long-term debate, it prevented further disruption and allowed negotiations to continue. It marked a rare moment when both sides agreed to pause the fight and prioritize national stability. The agreement served as a short-term reset rather than a final answer. Trump's announcement, ending the shutdown without wall funding. When the president announced the end of the shutdown, the message centered on restoring government stability and responding to public concern. He explained that the temporary agreement would allow workers to return to their duties and agencies to function again. Although the plan did not include the requested money for a physical barrier, the president stated that the debate over border security was not finished. He framed the reopening as a strategic step, giving negotiators time to craft a stronger plan. The announcement also highlighted the goal of keeping the nation safe through a broader approach to security. The decision marked a shift from confrontation to temporary cooperation. Many saw this moment as a significant turning point, showing that the shutdown had reached a stage where continuing it would create more national strain. Why this shutdown still matters today. This shutdown remains important because it exposed how fragile national systems can be when budget decisions stall. It highlighted the essential role of federal workers and showed how quickly services can break down. The event also set a modern example of how political disagreement can affect millions of people in everyday life. It continues to influence debates about border security, spending priorities, and negotiation tactics used by leaders. The shutdown serves as a reminder that long standoffs create lasting consequences, from delayed projects to weakened public trust. Policy experts, historians, and lawmakers still study this event to understand how future conflicts can be handled more responsibly. Its lessons remain relevant each time a new funding deadline approaches, proving that the impact of this moment did not end when the government reopened. The shutdown may have ended, but its impact still echoes through every debate about power, policy, and leadership in America. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. More eye-opening political stories are on the way. Don't miss them.